Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm so happy to be making this video because today I am filming at my very first workplace. So I am in Rosso, and in this video I'm just gonna share with you my experience getting my first job in Finland and how was it. I'm gonna share everything for how I got it, how was it when I start working. I'm gonna tell you a little bit about the payment, the taxes, my overall experience, and then some advice that I would give to people that are looking to have a job in this industry. You can always find the timestamps in the description below, so if you just want to skip to a certain part, just feel free to check it out. But let's get started with the video. The way in which I started my first work in Finland was actually like in a really weird way, because I didn't got it in the most typical way that people just go knocking doors or go seeing where is there like a job opening. If you have seen my previous videos, you know that before I was actually studying for a long term in Finland, I was an exchange student. So when I was an exchange student, I had the opportunity to stay as a exchange student with like 4 different Finnish host families. So for me, this story was a little bit different because when I decided to come back to Finland, I didn't came back to to start like alone and from the beginning. So of course, I was an exchange student when I was 16. So when I came back to Finland, I definitely wanted to choose a city that at least would it would be a city that I already know. It's a city where I have had host families, because of course, I have none of my biological family in Finland or relatives in Finland. So when I make the decision that, okay, I want to come back to Finland, I decided that, okay, it's going to be to a place where at least I have people that I know that can, that I don't have to be like completely on my own. So that's why I came back to Kuopio, where I did my exchange year. And the thing is that after I came back to Kuopio, that was in 2012, and I was like 3 years studying high school. I was 20 when I graduated from high school. And one of my host mothers, it was like my mom of my third family, she like called me this one day, and she told me like, Hedy, you're about to go to university and you are like turning 21 and you have not yet like been working, so what would you think about going to work? And I was like, well, going to work. And I need to give you guys a little bit of background story so that you really understand me. And the thing is that in Mexico, if you go to work before you have a degree, like your pay is gonna be shit. Like it's like the salaries are like that low that if your parents in Mexico have the opportunity to pay for your education until you get like a university degree or a master's degree, usually at least a bachelor's degree, they're gonna do it. Because the pay is that low in Mexico that it just doesn't make sense for you to even go to work if your parents can support you with your education. Simply because only when you have a degree you get the opportunity to earn a little bit more. Like in Mexico, there's like this typical saying that you'd rather be studying and preparing yourself to get like a degree and a better job and like a better salary instead of just going to work, maybe earn the minimum and misuse that time that you could use studying by working. So considering that background, it's like obvious that when I came to Finland, I've never worked in my life. Okay, I worked once, but that's a story for another video, and it was not like a work. I used to earn as a teacher for figure skating, like ice skating teacher. Yeah, like 50 cents of euro per hour, so it was like nothing. But for me, it was like a blast because I could just like skate for the full day, and when I had the chance to teach some small kids how to skate, then I would get some money that would basically pay for my food. But basically the payment was like shit. So, and I was like underage, I think like 16, so I really was not there for the money. Anywho, that's not the story for this video. So the point is that I came from a background where like my parents paid for my whole stay in Finland, like everything. I didn't have to move a finger other than for studying my books and studying and preparing for my exams. But my parents covered my full studies and my full living in Finland from the moment I was an exchange student, from the moment I passed to be actually a high school student, to the moment that I continued my bachelor degree. And only after I finished my bachelor degree is that my parents stopped sending me money. But for like, you know, for a person that lives in Finland, you know, in Finland it's so different because people start going to work since they are like really young, and they actually get good cash for it. Like, it's not like they get paid the minimum. I mean, I guess it's the minimum in Finland, but it's like good money. And they don't need to have a degree. Like, a lot of Finnish people are just very used to go to summer jobs. Like, summer jobs here are a thing. So yeah. So basically, like, my mom was just like, my Finnish host mom, my third Finnish host mom, she was just like really weirded out just thinking about like, okay, Hade, so you've been here like already 3 years, you're turning 21, you have not gone to work yet. So what's going on? And for me, when I received that call, I was like, work? Like, you mean like work? And you know, like the idea got me a little bit by surprise, but I was like, I mean, absolutely. Like, if I have the opportunity to work, that, you know, I came to Finland to study, I never came to Finland to work. So the idea of working, the idea of, like, I was that Mexican in a sense that even, and I mean, Mexicans are very hardworking people. It's just like, as I mentioned in the beginning, it's just the comparison between are you going to study or are you going to work? And it's not the same working in Mexico with like a Mexican pay than working in Finland with a Finnish pay. European pay, not Finnish pay, I'd say, because it still differs according to European countries, to the European country in which you are. Anyway, so yeah, I was like just very, very surprised by her question, and I was like, okay, well, you know what? Like, let's give it a shot, because I really don't mind going to work. I mean, I am capable of doing work, so if I just have the opportunity to do work, like, hell yes, I'd like to go to work. That was May or April 2015. And so, like, in Finland, there's like 2 big groups, like very big groups, like basically everyone knows these groups. And it's like the K group, or I guess it's like Kesko, I'm not quite sure. But anyways, it's the K group and the S group. And they're like so big. So the S group is one of the biggest groups in Finland. They have like everything. They have like restaurants, hotels, bars, supermarkets, mini markets, like big grocery stores. They have like everything that you could think of. They have like everything. They have like everything, like cafeterias. It's one of these kind of like big groups that you can find like in every country. Well, in Finland, it's the S group. And my mom had been working in the S group as a manager of some level. Anywho, but she had already retired, but still she knew a lot of the people that worked in the industry. So she told me like, okay, Hade, what would you think? Like, would you think you would like, for example, to work in a restaurant? And I was like, absolutely, yeah. Because when I was in Mexico, I always wanted to be a waitress, just because I thought it would be like just so much fun to go like from table to table and be like, hey, welcome, like, what do you like to eat? Like, I don't know why, but I always like, I wanted to be like many different things. Like, that's the story for another video, but I wanted to try so many different jobs that I was like, oh, that it would be so cool to be that. And being a waitress was one of them. So yeah, so I was like, yeah, like, absolutely, like, why not? So she had a call with the one that was restaurant manager in Rosso. Rosso is this kind of like Italian style restaurant in the S group, because it's like in many cities in Finland, but Rosso. So yeah, so she had like a talk with the manager of the restaurant. Then she called me back and she told me like, hey, I have spoke with her, could you please give her a call? She knows, you know, we already spoke about you and she's expecting your call. So I took my phone. I was like panicking because like back then my Finnish language was like so bad, like so bad. I barely spoke. Like, I spoke really little. I understood basically nothing. I would consider my Finnish skills to be back then like really poor. So I took the phone and I called like today, her name's Taina. So I called Taina and I say like, okay, like, hi, this is Hade. I don't remember actually for sure did I did it in English or in Finnish, but I'm very sure I did it in English because no way on earth I could have handled that kind of Finnish level. Or maybe I did it in Finnish, but then it was probably broken and I probably changed to English at some point. Anywho, so to be honest, like, that made me, like, I was extremely grateful. I always be grateful for such an opportunity. But then I also thought that, okay, well, on a one hand, that's like really cool, but on the other hand, it's not like I got the job myself. I got my job on a big part through through my mom asking me if I want to go to work, and through her speaking with the manager of the restaurant to give me an interview. So I don't know, I always feel like it takes like a lot of my credit away because I didn't came as most of the people come. But then again, if you continue to be employed by a certain company, it's because you must have done something like good. Otherwise, why would they keep you? Anyhow, so I called Nina. We agree time for the interview, and we have the interview. So I come here super nervous. I'm like, oh my God, I've never gone to an interview. I don't know what to expect. I don't know how is it even gonna be. And we came here, actually, I'm gonna show you later, and I'm gonna have a clip of the table where we sat, because we sat in that exact table that I'm just gonna run a clip here. And we were sitting there, we took some coffee, and she was speaking Finnish for the most part of the interview. And I remember I was just so stressed. I was like extremely focused, trying to understand what is she like, what does this word mean, like what is she asking me. And a few times she did change the language to English just to help me a little bit. But I remember 3 things, and this is the story that I always tell. The first thing that I told her is that minä siivon nopeasti, which basically means I clean fast. The second thing that I told her is that minä hymyilen, which basically means like I smile. Like, I think I said something like mulla on iso hymy, something like that. That it's like, yeah, I smile, or I have a big smile, whatever. And the third thing that I told her is like, jos en ymmärrä, kysyn apua, which basically means if I don't understand, I ask for help. And that was it. Like, she did change, like it could be even a longer story, but she did change a lot, like back and forth, Finnish, English, Finnish, English. And it was an interview for a summer job, so it was gonna be for June, July, and August. So like a 3-month contract. I think it was until like the middle of August or something. No, probably it was until the end of August. Anywho, so it was for a summer job. I was just gonna be like a helper worker. So basically, I was not gonna be doing anything like waitressing. I was just gonna be working in the restaurant. But because, in order to be a waitress, first you need to have like some hygiene certificates, and like that you can serve alcohol, and that you have to know the language better, obviously. Like, it's not like I can just approach the customers and be like So I didn't got what you say, sorry. So yeah, so I was just gonna be like cleaning, like literally cleaning, and I have 2 working hands still. So it was just about going like, to all the tables, like taking everything, like cleaning the table, making sure the restaurant is clean, making sure like, all the like glasses in the bar were like, they go into the like dishwasher, in the kitchen, like just making sure that the plates are being like washed. Then with the tables, then when I was more of a pro, I also ensured that the salad table, like in Rosso we have like this salad table that basically like people can start from the salad table. So I was like always making sure that it has to be filled. So yeah, it was really good. I had the interview. I told her those 3 things, and I'm just so grateful with life, with the world, for them to actually have given me this opportunity. They decided to take me and give me a chance to prove myself. I worked like so hard those 3 months. I had a blast, because I started with like actually I'm talking about payment a little bit later, but the thing is that I got the job. I got those 3 things. I believed in myself that I was able to, do work that would benefit the company, in this case cleaning, and that I was gonna be compensated for it. So I was just literally like having a blast. So I got the job, and once I started, I came on the first day for my job. But this is the funny part, because we just agreed like, okay, we signed the contract, you're coming on this day, just come. And I was like, what do you mean just come? Yeah, like just come and look for the person that's working at that time, and she's gonna like guide you. And I was like, okay. But I'm a foreigner, so, and especially back then, I've never worked in Finland, so I was like, I have no idea like what to bring. So typical Shade comes to work just like in random clothes, just like hi, you know, like I came to work, it's my first day, so what do I do? And I remember like the person that received me back then is like one of my dearest co-workers. She retired already. Her name is Lena. So Lena was waiting. She was like the shift manager that day when I started. So Lena received me, and she kind of like looks at me really funnily, because of course, like one of the coolest parts of me starting at my first job in Finland is that everyone spoke to me in Finnish. And that meant like maybe 80% of the time I was like, eh. But it was key for me to actually start learning this freaking language and start like, you know, being able to speak it myself too, because I had no option here. I was coming to work to a workplace where the work language is Finnish, so I wouldn't come, like, you know, it was unrealistic for me to come and be like, oh, sorry, en puhu suomea, which means like I don't speak Finnish. Like, no, that was not an option. Basically, I came and Lena was looking at me like really funnily, because first of all, it seems that restaurant workers should have like something like security shoes. It's like these kind of like working shoes. I'm gonna insert either a clip or a picture of my working shoes. So these are kind of like special shoes for, you know, to do work. Basically, it protects you. They are like stronger, so like if something like heavy drops on you, you are protected. So I came and I was like, okay, so work shoes? I was like, what, work shoes? What are even work shoes? And she kind of like tried to explain me. I was like, okay, well, where can I get those? She was like, oh, well, you can get them in this Carlson store that it's like next door. I remember that after work that day, I went to see like how much do the working shoes cost. They costed something like 70 euros. I was like, 70 euros, like shoes, 70 euros. I just like, it was like back then 70 euros for me, it was like a fortune. I was like, what do you mean 70 euros on shoes? But anyway, to be honest, I'm just really happy that all these things are taken care of, you know, that I feel that the workers in Finland are so well taken care of to a certain extent. So I really appreciated that. It's like, okay, even though you're coming to do a summer job, it's important for you to have working shoes. So I went to, you know, the first thing was about the working shoes. Then I got like my waitressing uniform. It was really nice at the time. If I have a picture of me being a waitress at that time, I'm just gonna insert it here. And if not, I'm probably just gonna recreate the look. And one of the coolest parts was literally just like figuring out how the work environment could change so much in Finland. And let me explain you why. So what I could see since day one was like the freedom that waitresses had, like in terms of like hairstyles, piercing, or tattoos, compared to Mexico. Like when I came here, like for example, like because I lived in Mexico, and like especially in these kind of restaurants where there are like chains or they belong to a chain, you don't only get a uniform, but you get like strict guidelines as to like how are you supposed to look. So for example, in Mexico, there's a lot of places that if you start working there as a waitress, it's like, okay, well, you need to have like the ponytail and like, you know, like nothing in your like forehead. Or there's certain like establishments where they ask you to make like, if not a ponytail, that you have to make this kind of like bun that you make like ponytail, and then you have like to put it like up like this. Anyhow, and here, you know, the most important part was that, you know, you just didn't have like the hair that would just like fall into the client's food, but you could like very well have like, you know, like two ponytails. How do you call when you have like two ponytails? You could have like a high one, a like low one. If you have like short hair, then obviously like no ponytail. You could have braids. You could have like, you know, your hair could be like colored like in a tone. Like I had like some co-workers that came with their purple hair or with their pink hair, and it was like, you know, totally fine. Like they got to be themselves, and not because they worked in a certain establishment they had to wear their hair in a certain way. So I found that like pretty good. And one of the like biggest things for me was seeing that people like my co-workers were able to have tattoos. Like what? That was a huge thing for me. And it's really something that I've been carrying from Mexico from the years that I spent there. And it's something that it's so different in here. Because here, like my waitress friends, they would have like tattoos here, like you would see their tattoos like easy. It's not like, like because I'm working, I need to hide them. Like, no. It's like, yeah, like I have my tattoos. And for me, that was like such a shocking experience in a positive way. Because in Mexico, I wanted to make a tattoo. I wanted to have a tattoo when I was younger. I still want to have a tattoo. But like, when it comes to tattoos on piercings like in visible areas, in Mexico, at least when I lived there, it was like really common to be like, if you're gonna get a tattoo, make sure to get it like in a non-visible area, because a lot of companies might be able to be like, okay, well, we cannot hire you because you have a tattoo. I don't remember exactly like why was it, but I remember that I grew up with the thought, idea, and understanding that it was risky to get tattoos or piercings in visible areas, because you could be at risk of later on, when you would be looking for a work, to not be able to be hired because you had a tattoo in a visible area. And I was just so like positively surprised, and it was so nice to see that in Finland people get to be, freely be who they are, and that doesn't mean it's like, oh, you have a tattoo, we can't hire you. Like, hell no. Like, people get to be themselves, and that will not reduce or increase their working possibilities because they have or they don't have a tattoo. So I think that's pretty freaking sweet. Those were basically like my first impressions from my work in my first day, just like, having the working shoes, seeing how, like receiving the uniform. I'm just seeing that I could have like the freedom of wearing different like hairstyles, and I could have a tattoo, and that wouldn't mean that I wouldn't get hired. And now I want to talk to you and share a little bit about the payment, because for me that was like mind-blowing. Like, honestly, it was like mind-blowing, because I started my first pay per hour in Finland. In my first job was like of 9 euros. It was like 9 euros and some cents, maybe like 9.50. I would have to check. Actually, I'm just gonna check in my contract, and I'm just gonna put the actual like sum somewhere here. But it was like 9 something euros, and like 9 something euros, are you kidding me? That's like a fortune. Like in Mexican pesos, I was earning with 9 euros almost as much as what my parents earned per hour. And my parents, well, my dad is now retired, but at that time, both of my parents were coordinators of the dental school in a university in Mexico. So the coordinators of a dental program in Mexico would make, or I would make almost the same per hour as them. And for me, I was like, what? And I'm just cleaning dishes. Like, I'm just wiping, like, I'm just cleaning. Like, I'm just cleaning, and my work is valued and it's compensated in a really good way. Like, I just could not understand. I felt so well compensated. I felt so well paid. I felt that my work was valued. And that's something that's like a pay that I would have never, ever dreamed to even get in Mexico, less without a degree. No posible, impossible. So I was extremely happy. My first check that I got in Finland, it was from the month of June, because I started my work in Rosso, so in the S group, the 1st of June 2015. So I got my paycheck from June in July, and my first paycheck was a little bit over 500 euros, and I felt like I was the most rich person in the world. I've never made myself that kind of money. And just to see those numbers in my bank account and be like, I did that. Like, it was my work that was compensated with that money. I produced that money. So wow, that that really marked a before and after in my life. Like, cause I've never just earned that kind of money, and I was just, my brain could not process I earned 9 euros per hour. And the thing is that in Finland, the taxes are paid according to what you make in a year. So for example, like back then when I started working for the first time, I think that if you earn, it always changes a little bit per year. But I think that back then I would have been able to make something like 8,000 a year and pay like 0% tax, which was amazing, because if you earn that little in a year, obviously you don't need to pay taxes. And I think that's just something like so sweet. I think that's something that it should be like that for everyone. Like why would the people that earn the least have to pay the same amount of taxes as people that earn more? Doesn't make sense. So I was extremely happy that like, you know, at that time, basically like all of the work that I did, like the 9 euros that I didn't work, were the 9 euros that I got to keep myself. Something that I really, really appreciate, and for me it was just like, it blew my mind with the Finnish, you know, the way in which the Finnish work environment works, is that, you know, being a part-time worker, I think when I was doing my summer job, I had something like 10 hours per week, something like that. But it's like, you know, it's average. Sometimes I could get like a little bit less, sometimes I could get like a little bit more, sometimes I had the opportunity to get extra shifts or just to stay a little bit longer in my shift. So it just varies, but I started with a contract of 10 hours per week, and if not, I'm just gonna correct it here. But yeah, anywho, so what I really loved was how in Finland you get paid for your time, like basically to the exact minute. So for me, that was one of the most beautiful things ever, because whenever, like, you know, in the restaurant industry, it's just so common that sometimes if the restaurant is having like a rush hour, or if there's just like a lot of clients, they will need their people to stay like doing longer shifts. Of course, you can always say like, I don't want, like, I have something else to do. But, you know, usually people stay, like, if they just are not too tired, well, you know, of course, well, this is like a topic for another video again, but usually people, if it's okay for them, they usually like extend their shift. And of course, if there's like very little clients, then the boss or the shift manager might ask like, okay, would you want to go home earlier? Of course, it's up to the employee to be like, okay, yes, I wanna, you know, there's nothing to do, so I'm just gonna like leave earlier. But they can also say like, no, my shift ends at this time, so I'm not gonna go earlier because my shift ends until this time. So anyway, the point is that, you know, you could choose to leave early if the situation just allows you to go home earlier, or you can just decide to, if the situation also requires you to, you could also be required to stay longer. And if you accept, you are paid for that. At least in the work where I am, in the S group, I always get to mark there where there's the schedule, like my work time. Like, let's say if I have a job, a shift, that it's like, okay, I have a shift from 10 to 4. I could be like, okay, well, I arrived actually like at 9:55, so I started my work earlier, and I can mark there like, yeah, I came 5 minutes earlier, and you get paid for that 5 minutes time. And then let's say that you continue like, you know, 20 minutes or 1 hour, like I always like mark to like the 5 minute mark, but you get paid for that. Like, and for me that was just so freaking like mind-blowing, and I'm just so grateful and thankful, and I'm just like so wow about it, that you can get paid to that, you know, exact moment that you are working, because I feel it shows just respect for the like workers' time, because at the end of the day you're doing work. So it's not like you are just like, oh, I would like you to pay me more because I just want you to pay me more. So I think that was like freaking incredible. Also, if you leave earlier, you can leave earlier, but obviously that's why they ask, like always the shift manager asks you if there is super quiet, like would you want to go home? Because it means that if you go home, you're not gonna be paid for the time that you are not working. So it's always up to you to decide, like, what do you want to do? Do you want to ask like, no, my shift ends until this time, so I'm just going to stay here, or I'm going to leave earlier, and you're going to like fix in the time schedule that I left earlier, which means that you're not going to be paid for that hour that you were not working anymore. So if I could just like summarize my overall experience, The first thing I would say is like from a foreigner perspective, getting just my first job, like being trusted that I could do something of value, that I could bring, you know, that I could actually help an establishment operate better by simply like washing the dishes and making sure the tables are clean, making sure that the salad table is filled, and that I was like really well compensated to that. Like for me, it was such an experience. Getting my summer job and being working in Finland was the reason I actually learned how to speak in Finnish. It took me a while, but it's so hard. Like Finnish people have so good level of English, like almost everyone speaks so good English. At the very minimum, they speak like good English. Like usually everyone speaks English. They might not speak it that well, but everyone speaks English. So, you know, you will very rarely, in my opinion, be forced to speak in Finnish. So, because there's always the English option. So for me, being in a place where I get to be forced to speak in Finnish simply because it's the working language, for me, it was just the best thing ever. I loved it. I'm so happy that that happened to me. Did I find resistance? Fucking yes. I wanted to die sometimes because there were like, you know, sometimes some people would be just trying to explain for me something like really easy, like you should not come from this door, you should come from that other door, and I would be like, me no understand, and they would like tell like, you know, like maybe 3 times the same thing in Finnish. I would be like, no, me no understand yet. But it was just with the practice and really of forcing myself to be in a place where I just have to speak the language. That it was like Hade was a person before I got to work in Finland, and Hade was a different person after I got to work in Finland. Like it changed my life in terms of language. And even though it doesn't make me proud that, you know, it's like, girl, but you know, you didn't like got the job. You got the job through connections. It's like, okay, well, yeah, I respect that. Like that's, on a sense, that's totally true. I still like to believe that if I wouldn't have got like been a good fit, probably the restaurant manager would have just had to tell me, sorry, no can do. But the thing is that I was working here for 3 months, and then after that I was offered a permanent contract to continue as I started my university studies. And I believe that if I wouldn't have been doing a good job, that would be simply an offer that no one would have offered me. So I believe I did something well. I believe that my hard work from the summer paid off. So I was offered to continue on a permanent basis. I was like, the fuck what? Like permanent? And for me that just was like so good, because now I see money in a different way. But back at those days, like for me, 9 euros was like huge. They told me like, we probably are not gonna be able to offer like the X amount of hours. I have to look again at my contracts, but it was like a lower contract than when I had in the summer. And I was like, hey, you know, that doesn't matter because I'm gonna start my studies, and just the fact that I'm able to do some like weekend job and get some extra cash for me, because as I said, my parents paid my full time of me studying in Finland, so I did not have to worry about money. But also for my parents having me here, it was like a huge effort from their side. It was not the most expensive ever, but it was definitely not cheap. Like I think I consumed like maybe like 50% of their paycheck, like from all the years that I was in Finland. So they did make a huge effort to have me here, and I'm so grateful for that. So I had to understand that there's a limit to the money that they can send me. So if I wanted to travel, if I wanted to buy like an extra things, if I wanted to go eat in the restaurants, because at the student budget, going to eat to a restaurant, that's like extremely expensive. So I understood that if I was gonna like want to buy my own things, it was like imperative that I would have my own source of income. And for me, having this opportunity to continue on a permanent basis as a aputyöntekijä, which basically is like a helper, it was really like life-changing. Because as I've said, like the amount of pay per hour that I got in Finland was nothing that I would have ever dreamed of getting in Mexico without a degree. I think like I have to check like how were my paychecks after my summer job, but I was like, even if I get like 50 euros per month, like extra by just doing like 1 or 2 shifts, and I don't think I ever got like 50. I think like the minimum I got was something like 70, but I have to check. So that's still like so freaking awesome. Like, you know, I could work more when it's required, I could work less when it's not required, and I still get to have a permanent contract, I still get to do work, and I still get to bring to my life a little bit of support money, which is freaking awesome. I cannot tell like a lot more about my summer experience simply because I did not speak Finnish well at that time. And that was also like maybe a little bit sad, because it was good because I was learning. But in the work environment, I just could not participate in the conversations. I couldn't talk to my coworkers because the only way that I could talk to them, it's in English. And obviously I was like, Hade, you're not gonna do that. Maybe I could have tried and see like, you know, what would happen. Like, would they answer to me? Maybe. I had like 4 chefs and one of my co-workers, like that was a waitress, but that it's not anymore a waitress, that they always spoke to me in English. And with them I spoke more. Most of the time, but all the other co-workers, they always talk to me in Finnish, and it was kind of like a barrier, because you know, I could just come to my work and be like, hi. Then if I need some help, I would be like, hey, miten tai mitä, or en löytä. Like, I had to learn. And the thing is that, you know, I forced myself to learn the language according to what I needed to ask. So if I had to ask like, where is X thing, then I would just simply ask like, where is X thing? And then it would be like, okay, in Finnish it's like missä on, and then the whatever word I'm looking for. And that's how I started learning Finnish. Like, it was like, oh, missä on, or minne laitetaan. I was like, okay, well, I need to learn, like, where do I put? So, minne laitetaan. And then I started just like learning those sentences of the things that I would usually anyways like need to speak or ask or say. I would like either Google Translate how was it, or I would go to one of the coworkers that speak English to me and be like, hey, how can I say in Finnish this? So yeah, I cannot, like, the reason that I cannot tell more about my summer work experience was because my brain didn't process Finnish that well. So I could not understand, like, I had, like, my contact with customers was minimum. It was just like, here's the table, and oh, I can clean the table for you, or like, welcome, a waitress gonna come and serve you, bye, welcome back again. Like, my interaction with my co-workers, my interaction with customers was like bare minimum. So if something happened around me, I probably was not aware of, you know, I was not aware about what people were talking about. It was like, and you know, that's the funny thing, when you don't know a language, even if you're hearing it, you don't process it. I don't know if that's just something that happens to me, but like, for example, even now, if I'm not listening, like if I'm not putting my brain into, like, I push the button that, okay, Hade, what are they saying? If I could just be like, let's say here, just studying or something, and there would be like a bunch of Finnish people around me speaking, like, if I don't turn my brain into, okay, Hade, start processing what they are saying, like, then it's just like noise. Like I don't process it, I don't understand it, I don't even know what it means. I have to put attention and then be like, ah, it means that. So yeah, those were my experiences of getting like my first job in Finland. I had a blast. I was so grateful. I had lots of fun. I felt extremely well compensated. I was so thankful that I was given that opportunity. And after I finished my work in August, I was offered a part-time job, permanent part-time job afterwards, of which I took, obviously, and that has been a journey. So these are the thoughts for this video. In my next video, I'm just gonna share to you everything about how was it to actually work and study at the same time, because as I got offered my permanent job in the restaurant, I also started my university studies, and I was both working and studying during the whole extent of my studies. So if you want to hear more about how was it for me to study and work at the same time in Finland, please stay tuned and you will learn more about that in my next video. Until then, I hope that you have an incredible day and see you soon. Bye!